While babysitting, the mother asked me, "Do you mind feeding the cobra in the basement?" Mrs. Duffy acted super casual and told me on the phone, "Oh, honey, I totally forgot to mention this before we left. Can you feed the cobra in the basement? I'll pay you extra for the trouble." She said that like she was asking me to water a plant. My brain heard pay you extra first, and I actually got excited for about 2 seconds. I needed that money bad, because my school required that I buy uniform skirts that cost $60 each, and I only had one that I'd been washing every other night. Then my brain caught up and processed the rest of her sentence. "I'm sorry, did you say cobra?" I gripped the phone tighter and looked at Grayson, who was still working on his multiplication tables. "Yes, his name is Kobe. Just toss a frozen mouse in his tank. They're in the freezer in a bag labeled Kobe's dinner. Thanks so much." She hung up before I could ask any follow-up questions like why she had a deadly snake in her house, or why she hadn't mentioned this when I arrived 2 hours ago. I turned to Grayson, trying to keep my voice calm. "Hey buddy, is there really a snake in the basement?" He looked up from his homework and shrugged like this was totally normal. "Yeah, but sometimes he leaves." I nearly sharted. "What do you mean sometimes he leaves?" "Sometimes Kobe gets out of his tank and explores. Mom says he's curious." Grayson went back to his multiplication like he hadn't just told me there was a loose cobra somewhere in the house. I stood up slowly and looked toward the basement door. It was wide open, not just cracked or slightly ajar, but completely wide open like someone had propped it that way on purpose. My hands started shaking as I remembered hearing weird sounds earlier that I'd assumed were just the house settling. "Grayson, we need to go outside right now." I tried to sound fun and not terrified, but I'm not done with my homework. He frowned at his paper. A sound came from the kitchen, like something heavy sliding across the floor. Every muscle in my body tensed up. I grabbed Grayson's hand and pulled him toward the front door. "We're going to finish homework in my car. It'll be like an adventure." He complained the whole way, but I didn't care. I dragged his outside and locked us both in my car. My hands shook as I called 911, but they transferred me to animal control when I explained the situation. The lady on the phone sounded like she didn't believe me at first. "Ma'am, you're saying there's a cobra loose in a residential home where you're babysitting a child?" She sounded tired, like people pranked called about snakes all the time. "Yes, the mom asked me to feed it, but the basement door is open and the kid says it escapes sometimes. Please send someone now." She said someone would be there within the hour. An hour felt like forever when you're sitting in a car with a bored 8-year-old who keeps asking to go back inside for his Nintendo Switch. I gave Grayson my phone to play Fortnite and kept my eyes glued to the house, expecting to see a cobra slithering out the front door at any moment. 3 animal control trucks finally showed up after what felt like the longest 2 hours of my life. The officers went in with special equipment and poles with loops on the end. Grayson and I watched from the car as more officers arrived, including 2 police cars. Neighbors started coming out of their houses to see what was happening. After another hour, one of the animal control officers came out carrying a huge container. Even from the car, I could see the massive snake inside. He walked over to show us, and I almost threw up. The cobra was at least 6 feet long, and its body was swollen in the middle. "Found him in the kitchen," the officer said. "Looks like he just finished eating a possum. Probably why he got out." Hunting instincts kicked in. That's when the Duffy's Escalade pulled into the driveway. Mrs. Duffy jumped out, looking confused at all the vehicles and uniformed officers on her lawn. Mr. Duffy followed, looking annoyed. I got out of the car, but kept Grayson behind me. "Your cobra was loose in the house. It ate a possum in your kitchen. The basement door was wide open." Mrs. Duffy waved her hand like this was no big deal. "Oh, Kobe must have pushed it open again. He's so clever." Clever? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Your son could have been killed. I could have been killed. You didn't even warn me you had a deadly snake." Mr. Duffy stepped forward with his chest puffed out. "We believe in giving Kobe freedom. It's cruel to keep such a magnificent creature locked up all the time. It's cruel to invite a teenage girl to babysit without mentioning the goddamn cobra." I was yelling now and didn't care. Mrs. Duffy's face turned red. "You know what? We're not even going to pay you. Not after you called the authorities and made this huge scene. And certainly not after speaking to us so disrespectfully." I stared at them in disbelief. 2 hours of babysitting plus 2 hours of sitting terrified in my car, and they weren't going to pay me anything. I needed that money for my uniform, but whatever. I'll keep washing my skirts. I turned to walk back to my car. That's when I felt small arms wrap around my legs. Grayson was hugging me tight with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. I think the poor kid was more afraid of the snake than I was.